This game sucks! Squaresoft doesn't make shooters. That'd be like Jen making something that isn't a delicious dinner. It just doesn't happen. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a hated gem. So Einhander, or Einhander, or however the hell you say it, was a game that came out in the late 90s from Squaresoft. Now, this was at the time when I only knew Squaresoft as the Final Fantasy people, or the Saga Frontier, they did RPGs. So when my buddy David and his brother John Austin were like, hey, we got this new Squaresoft game, you should come check it out, I was pretty stoked. They tended to be my gateway into the new hot as far as the PlayStation games go. So I was figuring, alright, this is going to be great. So when I got there and I saw the game, it looked really cool. The opening sequence, because when in the late 90s, the opening sequence was always something, I gotta see these graphics, mate. So it looked sick. But I noticed it was a flying ship, so I was a little confused. What is this, like Xenogears? What's going on here? Oh, look who finally decided to drag the good-looking guy in here. Wow. About time you wore that Rock on Modern Life t-shirt. And then I saw the select screen where you pick a ship, and I'm like, okay. And it was a vertical shooter, or a horizontal shooter, one or the other, horizontal shooter. So immediately, at this time, I've never been a big fan of shooters. At this point, I think the last shooter I had played was Forgotten Worlds, or Phelios, whatever, and I hadn't played another one since, and I had missed it. So when I found out there was a Squaresoft game that was a shooter, I was immediately confused. Why do they do this? There's no Final Fantasy here. What are they doing? And I played the first level. I'm not sure which ship I picked. I'm sure I didn't pick the beginner mode because, of course, being 13 or whatever, I thought, I'll pick the hardest one and be awesome at it instantly. Because usually that was the case. So I got in there, I got to the point in the first level where you get to the signs, and I wasn't feeling it. Not only was it not just a traditional shooter, but it was at this weird 2.5D perspective, which at this point I was wholly in the camp of 3D or bust, or pre-rendered or bust. I couldn't stand just 2D anymore, like most of us were. So I didn't give it that much of a shot. I didn't like it, and that was pretty much the last I ever heard of it. I tried it that day, didn't like it. They played it for the next few weeks, and then after that we got back to playing Smash Brothers or whatever. It never came up again. Lo and behold, Einhander is one of the more expensive PS1 games now, which luckily I picked up a couple of years ago now, for not as much as it's going for now, but still, it's still held its value pretty well. After playing Truxton, I figured, you know, why don't I give Einhander a shot? Because I remember not liking this game. You can't play these games. You don't even know how to do this. Bro. And since the whole point of this show is to play games I didn't like, let's give it another shot. So this time I did the smart move of picking the one that said beginner mode because, let's face it, I'm not great at shooters. You're terrible. You start the game, it's apparently 7 stages, and the way it works is that you have, depending on which ship you can pick 3 ships. Each one has slightly different loadouts. The easier one being you have a default double minigun or double machine gun, and then you can replace pods. Now, pods are the 8 distinct type of weapon upgrades you can get. And there's a minigun called a turret. Man, you don't even know what these things are called! There's a big long-range artillery cannon, there's grenades, there's a gun that shoots up or down, there's a heat-seeking missile, a blade, a spread shot, a lightning gun. I think that's all 8 of them. I may have missed one. But those are all the 8 ones you can get. And in the ship that I used, once you get another pod, it supersedes the other one. And they each have limited amounts of health in them. And another interesting thing is that you can, instead of taking damage yourself as the ship, sometimes you can get the pod damage and then that will die off. So there's a little bit of a strategy here, although for the most part, I rarely had a pod go and not just the whole ship. And if you do die, all your pods get wiped away. I don't know how exactly the other ships work. I believe one of them is you can have 2 pods at once, and then another one you can have a bunch of pods and cycle through them. They each have finite ammo, and they will run out after a while, and you can stack on top of them. I don't know if it makes them more powerful or what. Therefore, it must be terrible. Must be terrible. In Spanish, that's el terrible. The default difficulty setting in the game is normal, and I dropped it down to easy mode, and you still have 10 continues, and the game still gets insanely difficult once you get to stage 4, which, for all intensive purposes, is where my playthrough ended on this game. I got through the mini-boss of stage 4, and the way the levels are designed is you have enemies, you get to a mid-boss, and then you get to a final boss, and then you get graded on your score and your time and whatnot, and then you persist into the next level. And what you can do is, with the push of a button, you can have it going one direction, or the arm will come up above your ship and shoot in another direction. So it may be shooting at an angle, and then you change it and it shoots forward. Or you may be shooting forward, or it may shoot backwards. Depending on the weapon, each one of the secondary or optional shooting angles changes what it does. Why aren't you ever talking to me anymore? Huh? What is this? I'm only allowed on this stupid show that you never even do anymore, and then you end up liking the damn thing, or you don't like the damn thing. But I like the game. Oh. Well, so you like this game, huh? Well, Guff knocked me over with a feather. It was really fun. It's a shooter. It's a hard shooter. I don't necessarily want to dedicate that much time to it to beat it. I don't have the same desire, but it is something that I'm glad's in my collection. I may give it a go-around. It's one of those games where you could pick it up on a slow day, or just where you got a free hour to kill and see how far you can get, and then slowly get better. Slowly get better. Wacko's Modern Life. So it was fun. The shooting is tight. The actual graphics are really cool now. I love the 2.5D. It just runs smooth, and this is Squaresoft making this. This is crazy. They were just killing it in the late 90s, and this game is just further proof of it. They could do no wrong. And even the name is cool, Einhander, which I think is German for please don't send me any letters. But as far as if this game is hated or a gem, definitely a gem. Never once thought it was a bad game. I just, at the time of playing it when I was a kid, I was just so over 2D visuals because it wasn't cool, which ironically now I seem to like 2D better. Nostalgia, son of a bitch. So yeah, Einhander, gem. Pick it up and play it. That's your homework.